Scalpers have always existed. It's just a rule in economics that whenever supply is low and demand is high, prices will go up, and resellers are always there to make sure that they squeeze every last penny they can out of the consumer. Ever since the Logan Paul Pokemon boom back in COVID times, scalpers have set their gaze on TCGs, and with Magic being the largest in the world, it was only a matter of time before they reached us too. But something that I truly didn't expect was for our own LGSs to become the scalpers too. Today, I'm going to talk about scalping among local game stores, how it's affecting Hobbit, what role Wizards played in all this, and what should be done. This whole video was inspired because one of the biggest stores in my state, one with undoubtedly some of the most access to pre-sale product, is selling Hobbit collector boxes at double MSRP before the set is even released. Here's the picture proof, but we'll get into all that soon. First, I want to start at the beginning. Ever since Magic started printing outside IPs, there's been a lot of pushback from the player base. One such criticism has been Wizards' affinity for dumping licensing costs for a set directly onto the consumer. In other words, UB sets will cost more because we're paying for Wizards to have the right to make that set, which obviously doesn't sit well with anyone uninterested in the new property of the season. Then, if you add scalpers, it becomes much messier. Take Spider-Man and Final Fantasy. When Final Fantasy was released, we got the inflated property tax per se, but in the end, the set was juicy enough to pretty much be worth it. There were tons of powerful and interesting cards, and beautiful treatments that fans of the IP could collect. Many of the cards still existed in a similar realm to Magic's traditional high fantasy settings, so enfranchised players as a whole could connect with the set even if they were unfamiliar with the source material. I fall into that camp. Sure, there were a few hiccups, but as a whole, the set was a huge success. But it was a combination of these things that made the set worth a pretty penny. In the lead up and through the release of Edge of Eternities, the prices for FIN rose over 62%. And then came Spider-Man. If you were an active player during SPM spoiler season, you might recall the unrelenting disapproval the community had towards this set. It felt half-baked, kind of because it actually was, uninspired, and it took place in the jarring setting of New York City. But all scalpers saw were the price hikes of the last UB set and the rare collectible Soulstone treatments, and they wanted to get in on the next wave. In spoiler season, Spider-Man collector packs reached a speculative high of $100 a piece. When Wizards published the MSRP of $37.99, the packs were listed for $84.28. On release, they sold for $53.80, and in the following months, they only kept dropping. The set flopped. The community banded together and rejected a lackluster release, and scalpers were put in their place, whether intentional or not. The price they expected to scalp at was so high because of the unreasonable starting price mixed with the expected growth from the last Universes Beyond set. All this to say, in the end, the community plays a large role in dictating the value of a set, not just the speculators or scalpers, at least when there's high enough supply. Even Wizards, who set the MSRP at $38 to try and cover their licensing costs, couldn't dictate the eventual market price of Spider-Man because the set kinda sucked. With all that out of the way, let's talk Hobbit. Hobbit is obviously a sequel set to Lord of the Rings, a set that, like Final Fantasy, got really high praise for its quality and construction, though players at the time were worried about reprintability, especially when it came to the One Ring. Now we have a whole new set to flood the market and bring prices back down, right? Well, with Hobbit, we're seeing the exact same pattern we did between Final Fantasy and Spider-Man. Speculators see the success of the last set and raise the market price to try cashing in on the hype. The problem is, they might actually be right this time. See, Hobbit, in my humble opinion, is actually gonna be a good set. This isn't some half-baked idea. This is a set with real time and energy put into its design. Some of the chase cards are backed by years of market stability, and some of the audience is already here from the last iteration. On top of all that, if Hobbit prices are dictated from Lord of the Rings prices like Spider-Man was from Final Fantasy, we're in even more trouble. In case you didn't know, Lord of the Rings collector boxes are actually out of control at the moment, with normal boxes being up almost 5x from their original market price, and special edition rising over a stomach-churning 21x from $280 to $6,000. Even if nobody is actually paying that price, it doesn't stop scalpers from raising their Hobbit prices. According to Wizards, the manufacturer's suggested retail price for a Hobbit collector pack is $38, just like Spider-Man. With 12 packs in a box, that comes to roughly $456 a box, plus whatever the box topper is worth, so let's just round up to $465. So far, the TCG market price is already over $780, which is well above MSRP. GameStop, which is just notorious for scalping trading cards, has their price set to $850 or $800 for a pro membership. And just as a side note, the 3 1-star ratings is hilarious. Now, normally I wouldn't bat an eye at this. It's just people with pre-sale product trying to manipulate the market while it's still fresh. But what if your brick and mortar LGS use these prices to dictate their own? Now, before we move forward, let me make something very clear. I am a big supporter of buying Magic locally. The last time I paid for a Magic product online was a Strixhaven collector box for the Pride charity stream I participated in back in June, of which the proceeds went to a good cause. Plus, the box was just a really good price, so we decided to splurge a little.
They made that collector booster so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Oh god, Okay, but seriously, I know not everyone can buy singles local, but we are fortunate enough to have a store that's about 20 minutes away with one of the largest selections of singles in the state. And while the singles are a little overpriced at times, it's ultimately worth it to support something local. This video isn't meant to take down or harass any particular store, and for this reason I'm going to leave their name out of it, but it's the same store we buy singles from that's scalping Hobbit boxes at double MSRP, and that just doesn't sit right with me. In preparation for this video, I actually went to the location and asked them about their pricing since there's just such a wide discrepancy between their collector box and the rest of their presale items. The person I spoke to wasn't a manager, and I just asked him straight up, "Hey man, so I saw the MSRP for Hobbit collectors was $38, but on your website, you're selling collector boxes for $900. Would you know why that is?" He told me 2 things I thought were interesting. He assumed, in his own math, that the price for a collector box would be about 12 times the price of a pack minus 10% because you're buying in bulk. I'm actually unsure if this is industry standard, but it would make sense to me. He pulled out a calculator and did the math right there, and we figured that the price of a box would be somewhere around $410. He also said the store based their presale prices from the market. He pulled up the TCG market price behind the counter and said something like, "Our price is about market," and I could tell he was doing some mental gymnastics with that one. But I wasn't here to harass him or anything, and I knew he had no say in the matter anyways, so I just nodded and agreed, and even I left the store shortly after. I just find it baffling that this store is selling Hobbit boxes above GameStop of all things, and they're not the only ones. With just a quick Google search, I found tons of other stores that are trying to sell Hobbit at absurd prices that nobody should ever pay for presale. And the grossest pattern I noticed is that all of these were larger stores than their competitors, almost all WPN or even Premier stores, and if I could give a hot take, I just feel like it's scummy to take advantage of your privilege in the space to screw over your customers. Let me know in the comments if you have any game stores near you that are scalping. Not looking for a specific name, but let me know your city. I'm really curious to see how many people this is affecting. So yeah, it's looking pretty grim, but let's talk about what should be done. To start, please don't buy product at these insane markups. For every scalping game store I found, there were dozens more offering collector boxes for MSRP pricing. Plus, I'm sure buying such an expensive item from the little guy goes much further for their growth as a store. Shout out the Nerd Store and Salt City Games, 2 stores near me that are selling their boxes for normal amounts. They were the first 2 that I just asked straight up, but I'm sure almost all the other stores near me have good pricing too. While presale prices should never get this high, looking at you, scummy game stores, the power ultimately lies with the consumer. If everybody was an unwavering activist that never bought from a scalper, scalpers couldn't exist. But realistically, we're all human. It's like saying if everybody watching this video liked and subscribed, I could gain hundreds or even thousands of subs in a single week. But that's not really realistic. Sometimes you really want to get your hands on something, and the only way is to pay outrageous prices, and that's not your fault. I know if I had $900 of chump change and I could only order Hobbit from this store, I'd be really tempted because this set is sick. All we can really do is just try to be conscious of what we buy and look around for alternatives in our area. That's what we can do. But what about Wizards? I know that MSRP isn't a legal agreement or anything, it's just a suggested market price, but I would love to see WotC take action against stores that abuse their status in the community. Like if stores try to sell boxes at double MSRP pre-sale, maybe reduce their product on the next drop, or some kind of other penalty. I know that wouldn't stop stores from buying third-party, which I'm pretty sure they're already doing, but you get my point. Just some kind of system to keep stores in check, because at the end of the day, Magic wouldn't be where it is without the people like you and me who love this game enough to keep it alive. Thanks for watching.